The following is a rebroadcast of a program I did on WVOX radio back in September 12th of 2010. It recalls the events of September 11th, 2001.
$14.60 WVOX.
Live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX and WVOX Worldwide at WVOX.com, this is New Rochelle News and Views with Bruce Negrin. Get the inside stories about what's happening in the Queen City from Bruce Negrin, former candidate for City Council, and you can join in the conversation at 914-6360110. Now, New Rochelle News and Views. Here's Bruce Negrin.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of New Rochelle News and Views. We're back. It's September 9th, I believe. And, I got out of my house, getting up here. Normally the sun was still up. Everything's happening. Overnight, bam, the cold came in. And now it's dark at 8 o'clock. What's up with that? I'm not liking it. Because I'll tell you, at work, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, it's still summertime. Let me get through this week. Rosh Hashanah, the whole nine. Things should be a little bit lighter. But my territory's in the south, so things aren't a little bit lighter. And I'm working hard. But I'm geared up for next Monday. Monday is my start of the kick-in till Christmas. Oh, boy. Huh? Isn't it amazing? Even now I'm starting to talk about it like a retailer. Summer ended. It hasn't even really officially ended yet. And I'm already talking about Christmas. Talk about looking ahead. Live your life day to day because you never know what's going to happen. Someone could burn a Quran or build a mosque right next to Ground Zero. I've never had a chance to weigh in on that. I was talking to Pastor Shirley Maxwell just before here. And you know what? Both of these things, I got in an argument with a guy in my office where he says, constitutionally, it's right. Moral rights can't overshadow constitutional rights. And I understand what he was talking about, that if you break it down with no emotion and you look at it, the Constitution is what guides the United States, and you have the freedom to do this, you have the freedom to do that. To build a mosque across the street from Ground Zero, 2 blocks away, 560 feet. You could be Mickey Mantle and hit that mosque with a baseball. And, the guy said, this is the kind of stuff that just annoys me, too. The guy said, in New York, 2 blocks is an eternity. Not down there, buddy. Not down there. And then you got the guy in Florida who wants to burn a Quran, to show that, that Islam is a militant religion. Islam is not showing itself in the greatest light to America, at least. But to do that, to incite that, you know what? You have the right to do it. It is not cool. I hate to oversimplify an argument to be so high schoolish about it. But you know what? It's not cool. Why is that? Why? It's your right, but it's not cool. It's your right to date your best friend's girlfriend. But is that cool? No, it's not cool. And your friends won't talk to you. Just think about it. Put these things in context. It's what nobody does. Everyone wants to be selfish. You want to heal and you want to have peace? This isn't the way to go about it. It's definitely not the way to go about it. I can do it because it's my right. It doesn't make it right because it's your right. God bless America for being able to put up with this kind of stuff and still survive. It really is pretty amazing. You go back to, you hate to reference movies, but The American President with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening. That's a good film, the way it was written and the way they talk about the United States. I don't think flag burning is cool, but I guess it is your right, But don't do it in front of me because I don't think it's cool. I mean, I'm not going to throw a brick at you or anything to that effect, I don't think. But you know what? I might shout you down at the top of my lungs because that's my right. Okay? Some people, you just got to think. You got to think. It's not cool. What you're doing is not cool. It's not the right thing, even though you have the right to do it. It's not the right thing. Don't build that's not a cultural center, an Islamic cultural center. You're not building bridges of peace and understanding when you're opening wounds up 2 blocks away. I was down there on September 11th. I work right on Wall Street or around Wall Street, right on Lower Broadway. I saw the buildings fall down. I saw everything, man. It's the saddest day I have ever known in my life where I didn't know anybody who got hurt. Thank God. Thank God. Carry this thing 7, 8 years later. 9 years later, 9 years later. And I'll still have a tear in my eye about it. It was horrible. It was horrible. And it's nothing, you know what? We have to remember what happened there. But we also have to be stronger than that. We can't wallow. We have to be sad for those who left us. We have to have remembrance, no doubt. But it's time to get stronger. You know, everyone talks about, it's become a joke. The terrorists win. The terrorists win. They do win if we sit there and shed your tear on September 11th. But life has to go on. It's tough to say. And, as I said, I didn't have anybody I lost there. So it's easier for me to be there. But I felt the emotion. My wife, who wasn't my wife yet, the funniest part of this story is September 10th. I was sitting in my dad's house. We just went through that huge rainstorm, and we watched the Giants lose to the Broncos. And I told my dad, I said, I think I'm going to marry Gina. And he's like, what? And we talked for a while, a long while. And I woke up the next day and thinking that things are going to be good, it's going to be great. Get to my office, I come out of the subway, and I see a building on fire. Big hole in the building. And you knew something was wrong. I was in the subway taking the 1 train down, and they stop at Chambers Street. And they're like, we're going to take this train out of service. Well, I took the 2 and the 3 down because I got on at 72nd. Normally, I get on. My dad was taking me to work that day because he was doing me a favor, but he had a dental appointment, so he didn't come downtown. Another blessing. So I got off at 72nd Street, take the 2 and the 3 down, get off at Chambers. I'm about to get on the 1. The 1 pulls up, and they're like, this train is out of service. And you know something is wrong when the guy comes out of the booth, the dispatcher comes out of the booth and starts yelling at the motorman, saying, move this train now. Move it now. Because the guy was shuffling along to the other end. He's like, run. So what does Schmucko do? Schmucko gets back on the 2 and 3, gets out at Wall Street. And on the train, I'm hearing people saying that a plane hit the World Trade Center. It's like terrorism. It's terrorism. I'm like, oh, come on, terrorism. It's not unprecedented. An American jet hit the Empire State Building back in 40 years ago. So you're thinking what's happening. And then I get out, and you see it's snowing paper. Paper was all around. You look up, and you're like, oh, my God. There was no other thing to say. And I ran to my office, try to find out what's going on. And, New Yorkers, right? Greatest people on earth because, there's a big hole in the building. A jumbo jet just hit Trade Center 1. We'll wait for number 2 to hit. Don't evacuate. Don't evacuate. You understand the procedures, but get people out of there. So I go to my office. I'm sitting, we're listening. It's like, and then we hear the second plane crash, and then a little bit later, you're wondering what to do. You have no idea what to do. How do I get out of Manhattan? Where am I going? My first thought was walk to the water, right? Jump in the Hudson River. Because we're right down by Battery Park. And we move up. We're sitting in our building. We hear a rumble. And then we open the window, and we see people storming down Broadway, coming south to Bowling Green. Running at the top of their feet. Had no idea what was going on. It's like they just got the stock exchange. That's what everybody thought. They just blew up the stock exchange. So we go down the building, and there's an old man down there, Jerry. He was the building manager or the building security guard. And you see the big cloud of dust come down, and it turns into nighttime. And he's got a little spittle on his face, and he's got some dust on his face as well. And someone goes, Jerry, what are we supposed to do? What are we going to do? And he goes, can I tell you what to do now? So there was a big decision. It's like, stay in this building, just wait for it to come get you, or walk out. I walked out. A lot of people in my office went back upstairs. I said, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. I walked out into oblivion. It was nighttime. Luckily, I had 2 shirts on. I took one off of my body, put it around my face, and just walked. And then finally, I bumped into the fence. I bumped into a fence at Battery Park City, or at Battery Park. I bumped into it. You couldn't see in front of your hand. put your hand in front of your face, you couldn't see. So I just keep following the fence. Finally, I get to the east side of Lower Manhattan. And you walk out of the dust, out of the cloud. You walked out of it into sunshine. It was incredible. So I stopped by one of these fountains down on Water Street and just wash myself. I wash my face, wash my eyes, take a little sip of water out of a fountain I wouldn't even think about. I'm like, what do I do now? At this time, I was living on 69th Street and Broadway on the west side. So I'm on the east side, on the Lower Manhattan, stop into a bar, not because to have a drink or anything, but everyone just watch television, see what really was going on. And I saw that the buildings fell. It's like, oh, man. So I, along with, I guess, 100,000, if not more, walk up the FDR. We walk up the FDR Drive in sunshine. Actually, we're down below. We're on Front Street because on top, on the FDR, the elevated part of the FDR downtown, they had all these garbage trucks and siren trucks and everything coming into this area to see what was going on. I mean, they were doing the evacuations or the emergency plan above there. Then people shoot off to go across the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm still walking north. And the scariest part, this is what happened. All of a sudden you hear, and everybody looks up and freezes like, oh, my God, it's going to happen again. And everybody looks up, and someone out of the crowd goes, no, it's okay. It's ours. It's one of ours. One of ours. One of ours. Are you kidding me? I mean, really, are you kidding me? One of our jets? That's what, we were happy. Everyone was happy. But I'll tell you, New York showed its true colors that day. People were out with water, giving you stuff. I mean, anybody who was not affected by it was helping you out. So I walk all the way up to the 50s, to the 60s, get across the park, and I'm on Columbus. And the most amazing thing, as I'm in the park, what's amazing, you could see downtown on fire. And people were playing football in the sheep meadow. It's like, don't you understand what's going on here? I mean, I'm not saying take up arms and get a pitchfork or anything, but this is serious. This is very, very, very serious. So I get to a supermarket, buy all the water I can, go up to my apartment, because I couldn't get in touch with my girlfriend. I couldn't get in touch with my wife now, Gina. She's at my apartment, and when I opened the door and she was there, I mean, we just, you know what it was. We just hugged. My brother was there, too, because he was just trying to calm her down. My brother lived around the block. And, it just turned in, it was the worst day. I don't think I've ever been trapped or in a trance just for those next 15, 20 days. I mean, they really had us. They really, really had us. People were scared. You wake up the next morning. I took off all my clothes and I cut them up and I threw them out. Said, I never want to wear any of this stuff again. I don't even want that dust in my house. I don't want anything in my house. I don't want to remember any of this. Not the way I was, the way it is. I'll remember that day for the rest of my life, and I'll remember the people for the rest of my life. But I didn't want to carry anything with me. I got a bunch of newspapers and stuff like that. They're in a box somewhere. And I still remember one cover. It was on the Daily News. It showed like Engine 1 out of Brooklyn coming across the Brooklyn Bridge. And they could see the World Trade Center on fire. It hadn't fallen yet. And none of those guys came back. None of them came back. The engine didn't even make it. That got crushed. And I mean, wow, what a picture. And now, it's set off 8-9 years of what? Of trying to exact revenge. Keeping America safe. I mean, everyone could say whatever they want about George Bush. All I know, I was there, and I haven't had to experience any attacks since then. And I'm sorry, that's a very simplistic view, but it worked. We took the fight over there, and it makes a difference. It makes an absolute difference, in my opinion. And again, I'm a biased opinion. I fully admit my opinion is biased from where I was on that day. So, and the amazing thing, too, is how people just turned out to do things. And seeing people with those postcards and the banners, have you seen this person or that person? I mean, I went to the Red Cross to donate blood. I was there all day. They couldn't. The thing that was amazing is that no one could handle it. I mean, if people were really hurt, if thousands of people were really hurt, we were in a lot of trouble. Because, I mean, they couldn't even take enough blood from the people here. So they put your name on a list and we'll call you back. I never got that call. I'm still waiting for that call. So, emergency preparedness. Everyone's like, wants the government to help, wants everybody to help. But there's going to be some scale of something that people can't help. No one's ready for it. A Katrina, September 11th. No one's ready for it. I mean, you can't be ready for it. You can't practice enough. And especially when you're relying on other human beings to protect human beings. God bless them, the rescue workers, too. Really, it's just incredible. It really is incredible. And so, I guess that segues into there's going to be a memorial or a vigil on September 11th at the Armory downtown in New Rochelle, candlelight. There'll be remembrances of the evening, of the day, and there'll be prayers and song. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it that evening, but my thoughts are going to be there, and they're with everybody. They're with anybody. You talk about heroes. I don't know what happened on that Flight 83 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, but they're my heroes. They heard what was happening, and they did something about it. That's action. They made an ultimate sacrifice. They didn't choose to be in any war. They didn't choose to die that day. But you know what? They died to protect other people. That's a hero. No one can ever be a hero. It's bestowed upon you. You can't go out looking to be a hero. And the word hero gets thrown around way, way, way too much. Those people on that flight, they're heroes. They're heroes to me. Anyway, you're listening to New Rochelle News and Views. It's 24 minutes after the hour of 8. My phone number is 914-636-0110. That's 914-636-0110. Got a little bit sidetracked there, but I just wanted to let you know how I feel. It's 9 years later, and I can sit here with a tear in my eye talking about it. It's the saddest day I've ever experienced without losing anybody. So what are we going to talk about in New Rochelle? There's a lot of stuff to talk about in New Rochelle. New Rochelle is going to hell in a handbasket.
What you've heard was my recollection of September 11th, 2001. It happened to me. There were a lot of people who don't have stories that have been told before or been told since, but people who were just there. The average man, woman who were going to work, doing what they had to do because that's what America was about. That's what New York was about, showing up and being there. You didn't understand what was happening. You didn't know what was happening. And in true New York fashion, you go out, you see a hole in the World Trade Center, you see papers flying everywhere, things on fire, and you still go to your building and go to work. It's unbelievable to me to this day. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And to me, September 11th, no matter what, there's things in my life that have made me cry before, but September 11th is the one thing that I said before that I didn't lose anybody on that day, but I lost a lot. It's the saddest day I've ever known. To all of those that perished on that day, God bless you. To all of those who went into the buildings, God bless you. To all of those who are just dealing with it, God bless you. God bless the United States. Let's get it back together, people. Let's really get it back together. In 20 years, my son asked me the other day, Dad, about life-changing events. I've had to go through 2 or 3 of them in my lifetime without having a world war. Thank goodness for that. But it's like, Ryan, it changed everything. My son's 14 years old. I said it changed everything. From how we go to airports, from how do we go into baseball games, how do we deal with the Middle East, Afghanistan, etc. I don't know. The program's called Outside Looking In. My name is Bruce Negrin, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.